One of my home parks, Busch Gardens Williamsburg, which I love by the way, I do want to emphasize I do really like this park before I tear them to shreds, has just announced that they'll be closing one of my favorite rides in the park, what is in my opinion the best dark ride on the East Coast when you exclude Florida, because, Universal and Disney. But at any regional park, this is by far one of the best dark rides ever made. This is Curse of Darkastle, and it will never open ever again. And to make matters worse, we never got to say goodbye to it. Sure, there were a few rumors going around, but the ride really should have gotten a proper funeral, like some sort of announcement saying, yeah, this is the last time you'll be able to ride it. But no, we didn't even get that. We started seeing some possible rumors that the ride could be closing when we saw that it would be taken over in October by a new maze that is called Frostbite, and then there were a few more clues. I visited the park this past December, and actually the wolf statues out front were gone, and they were using it as Santa's workshop. So you could kind of see a few hints going around, and there was that rumor a while back saying that the park was considering closing it because it's just expensive to upkeep. The ride is complicated. There's a lot that goes into it to make sure everything is working. And even sometimes when you go to ride it, you'll notice when, oh, that thing isn't working over there. And because there's a lot that they have to keep track of, it's easy to kind of let part of it deteriorate. So I'm kind of torn. Yes, I was surprised that they announced it was closing, but I was also not surprised. I think the writing was on the wall, but at the same time, I would have liked for it to be open, say, okay, yeah, it's open for 2018, then they announced that they're closing it then. Like, why now? It seems like such a last-minute decision, if you ask me. Like, I'm wondering how long the park has had this in mind. Like, when they closed it for Frostbite, did they know that that was going to be the last time it would ever operate? If they did, then I think that's kind of mean. How are people supposed to know that that was the last time it was ever going to be operating? People want to be able to ride it one more time. This is a great ride. It was perfect for a hot day. It had great theming, good story. I loved how many puns were in it. It was fantastic. I could go on all day quoting different lines from it. I've grown up riding this thing. Ever since I was a kid, this ride has always existed. It's always been an icon for Busch Gardens, and now it's closing. Now, I do gotta emphasize, the park has said that the building will remain standing. Likely, it'll be gutted, and what they've said that they're doing with it is turning it into an event space, and they're gonna be giving it a new name. They actually have a poll going where you can choose the new name for the castle. Almost seems like they're gonna turn it into like a Fest House 2.0 or something like that. I don't know. I'm not really happy about it. I'm glad that they're at least using the space, but I think this is still probably one of the worst decisions Busch Gardens has made. A lot of people were upset when they tore down Big Bad Wolf, but at least a coaster replaced that. This is a great dark ride, and it's getting replaced by not a ride. Currently, Busch Gardens does not have a dark ride. It had two with Yarp in the Air, but guess what? They tore that out too. Now we're getting a VR attraction, which I think is cool, but I don't even know if that can be counted as a dark ride anymore. I feel like you have a whole new category now with virtual reality. It's almost like, okay, you have coasters, you have dark rides, you have virtual reality attractions. Unless the virtual reality is on a roller coaster, but you get what I mean. Now look, I don't want to go off on a rant, but part of me really doesn't understand why they can't keep it open. Look, if you can afford to build a 300 plus foot tall ride that you're going to be installing in 2019 or 2020, then why can you not keep one of the best rides in your park operating? How can it be too expensive to operate, yet you can afford to put in all of this money towards a new ride? I understand that you gotta build new stuff to be able to appeal to guests, but it's also good to have the current stuff you already have operating as it should. Darkastle is a big crowd pleaser. I've seen this thing get really long lines. It's a ride that everyone in the family can enjoy. It's got a great mix of actual practical sets and screens. It blends them very well, and I'm really sad to see this go. I feel like that area of the park is just not going to feel the same next time I'm there. Whenever I go to Busch Gardens and I'm passing by Darkastle, I almost always stop to ride it. Now, some people have proposed that maybe an event space is one of those things that they're keeping temporary. They're saying, okay, we're going to use it as an event space, but down the line, we're actually going to turn it into something new, maybe a new dark ride. I think the building for sure is going to be staying there. They'll probably modify the castle to, look a bit different. So for those saying, well, they could tear it down and put in a new roller coaster, yeah, I doubt that's going to happen. And I personally can't see them turning it into an indoor coaster either. I think it's going to stay as an event space for a while, and maybe down the line they'll do something with it, other than what they currently have planned. But I don't know, this whole situation with this ride, I'm just not thrilled with. I think there could have been better, more proper ways to handle it. It's always sad to see a ride go, but especially when the ride is something that means something to you and it's very popular with guests and it's still running great. I mean, this ride opened over a decade ago. It's still running great. The technology doesn't feel outdated. It's a great ride to balance the rest of Busch Gardens' attractions, and now they don't have it anymore. So man, do I hope Battle of Ire is like a pretty fantastic ride, because I feel like they definitely gotta make up for this decision. Like I said, best dark ride on the East Coast, outside of Florida, but by far one of the best dark rides in America. And as someone that goes to Busch Gardens a lot, I very much am going to miss this ride. So that's going to do it. I want to hear if you are just as disappointed in this decision as I am. Do you agree with the park's decision? Were you a fan of this ride? Let me know down below. And of course, stay tuned for more updates and rumors and everything in between here at Coaster Studios.